Hello, everybody. Once again, I am Liam Crafted Jr., aka Zorval Channel Less Than Guru. We have Mars Video Cat here, and today I wanted to start the full catch up of what's been happening in the various games, my thoughts and opinions about systems and things like that. And today I wanted to talk about Earthdawn, 4th edition. As I've mentioned before, I've been really excited in playing Earthdawn, and 4th edition. I've liked and played 1st edition and 2nd edition. I did not play 3rd edition, and then now 4th edition. And 4th edition, all of them are really close. They have the same type of game mechanics. If you play one, you will easily be able to play the other ones. And 4 adds a few things that I really like. I like optional talents instead of being forced kind of to get 2 talents every circle, of which a lot of times maybe one or even both of them you didn't really like. In 4th edition, you get one after 1st circle. Each additional circle, you get one talent that's kind of taught to you. You still need to spend legend points to advance it to 1st rank, but you're kind of like taught how to do that. And then you get an optional talent from a list that is given for each of the various, when I say tiers. So at the beginning, it's novice, which is circle 1, 2, 3, and 4. At each circle, you can choose one of those if you wish. You don't have to, but you can choose. And I really like that because then you can use that to tailor your character. For example, my Windling Weaponsmith, on obtaining circle 2, I was given conversation. Now, conversation isn't quite what I wanted, but it is kind of important for somebody who is, for lack of a better word, one of the only craftsman disciplines. They are a producer, a worker. So you might have somebody like especially a troubadour or a thief or even an illusionist who might be good at bartering and haggling and getting people to generally like them and stuff. The weaponsmith is kind of the closest that you get to a worker, a producer of items, and perhaps even a shopkeeper or merchant type aspect. So conversation did fit, so it wasn't like I was going to the game master and saying, hey, can I switch this out with something else, because it does fit the concept, even though I, as a player, and the way my character is an adventurer and not necessarily a shopkeeper, it still made sense. But then I get to look at all these optional talents and I get to choose the ones. And in those optionals, they do have things that are, if I wanted to go the shopkeeper, I could go that way. But I'm an adventurer. My group is one that we are going to go out and fight. So there are a few that are kind of warrior-ish type thing. So I picked up Fireblood, which is a kind of a healing, a self-heal within battle. Previously, I had chose Disarm Traps because we do not have a thief in the party, so I thought that that would be a good thing that my weaponsmith could fill in. So that's really cool that you can use those optional talents. And the main thing that I wanted to talk about today in this video is how I really am enjoying how item history and research work in Earthdawn. And yes, it's very similar to how it was in 1st edition, 2nd edition, probably 3rd edition. But like I said, I had never played that, but how I remember it. But it's really interesting that now that I am in like 4 different gaming systems, all within a 2-week rotation, my Earthdawn, my Tor, my Pathfinder, and my Palladium 1st edition, a lot of the same topics are coming up in multiple gaming sessions. And it's really interesting to see how the different mechanics are used to fulfill a role. And this is kind of, like I said, with item history research, is kind of researching magical items and things. And as a quick example to do a compare and contrast with Torg Eternity, basically you have a difficulty number. And if you fail, since Torg adventures are usually a linear plot, if you just fail and you're done and over with, then the game might not be able to progress. So failure usually has whatever the minimum thing that the party would find out, they find out. Nothing else. So just whatever is obvious, that's what they would get on a failure. Or they might get that but have some other problem occur. So there is that. And then for each success level, you learn more and more until you get to the highest success level, which currently is outstanding. And then you learn everything that is able to be learned. And Torg Eternity is a transparent game, so the players will know the difficulty numbers and they can keep spending resources, whether it's possibilities or cards that give bonuses or heroes and dramas that act as possibilities. So they can adjust that to make sure that they can get all the information, or they can just say, I think good success is good enough for me right now. So they have that kind of there is a greater or lesser extent of the knowledge that they can learn if they are, say, researching or trying to figure out something. So we'll have that is Torg. So various levels of failure, but you're always going to get something, even if it's minimum, and then each step after that will be more. So another game that our characters are doing research in currently is Pathfinder. And I did talk to the game master yesterday because, as you know, I'm not a huge Pathfinder mechanics fan. I really do like the adventure paths for the most part. And currently we are doing research, and when you research books or read books, they basically have their own version of hit points, and I believe it's knowledge points. I do know that it's KP. I think the K stands for knowledge, but I could be wrong. And it's kind of like a combat of the researcher versus the book, and as the researcher hits, they do damage to the book, not physical damage, but I guess absorbing the information. And once it's knowledge points, kind of, you either accumulate damage that you've done, or its knowledge points drop, you start gaining tidbits of information until you've taken out all of its knowledge points, and then you learn everything. And that, at first, I thought was interesting. It was like, oh, it's combat, but instead against an opponent, it is kind of your ability to research, whether it's knowing a language or understanding a lore or something like that, but it is kind of you're fighting the book. And later, I wish to go into that more detail, but I want to focus on Earthdawn. So that's kind of another way to do it. Earthdawn, I'm really enjoying a lot because of the way it's set up. Is you can get a magical item, say a thread, they're known as thread items, the potent magic items. And you get them, and they're kind of, sorry, I got something stuck in my mouth. They're kind of interesting, or they are, not kind of, Earthdawn's system is very interesting to me because it's not like you get the item and then you make some roll, whether it's a knowledge check or some magic arcane understanding check or doing an object read or whatever other systems have. It is you have to figure out certain things and do research into the item to figure out what you need to figure out, if that makes sense. So you don't find an answer, you find a question that then you can do research on. You can go and find research, and then you may get that answer, or you may only get where you might get that answer from. So, for example, my character had or the party delved into a care that had been overran by a horror during the Scourge, and we kind of went into it, and we found some thread items. And one of them was a dagger. And you spend an hour each day kind of looking at it, studying the magical pattern of it to figure it out. And then at the end of the week, you do an item history check, depending on how well you do. You can learn what you need to do to link yourself to the dagger or the thread item, and then what questions you need the answers to based off of that. So there is this dagger, and before I have a full week to do something, my character dies. And the dagger had its first way to thread yourself to establish a link to the dagger was to either die in possession of the dagger or to kill somebody with the dagger. So I died, and it basically gave me the choice. Do you want to live? Bind yourself to me. And I actually had the legend points, so I bound myself to it, and I then was linked to the dagger. And by doing that, it was like a step higher in damage than a normal dagger. So then I got a bonus, and that's how kind of magic works. So each time you improve the rank, so the 0, not having it to a 1, you might get something, and then at a 2 you might get something, and it might be something different. So it's not like every time you're just adding pluses to the dagger. There could be different things. But then studying it more, at the end of the next week, I could possibly find out what the second thing that I needed to do, like who was the first person killed by the dagger, or who was the first person who killed with the dagger. And you get these things, and before you can boost your thread up to that rank, you have to find that answer. So the item history doesn't tell you the answer, it tells you the question. So it will say, who was the first person who used this dagger to kill somebody? I don't know what it is. Okay, so what do? I figure out what might be the best, or where might be the best place to do research there. So could it be going back to the care, seeing if they might have had a library or something there? Might be going to the Library of Thrall, or talking to another group that kind of went there, or things like that. So you as a player then kind of decide where you're going to take that question to possibly find an answer. Then once you get there, you do your research. And then you might find the answer, or you might not. So say that we were lost on what to do with this dagger, how to figure this out. So we kind of get the name of the care, and then we go to the Library of Thrall, and we just start doing research, or whoever has either research talent or skill starts doing research, and they might not find who, but they might find something in that library. Like before Thrall closed off its thing, it could say that the care of Tempest, that's what that care was called, was closed. They knew that it was closed at this time, and there was a thief, a band, and there was a thief in there. So it might say it was the and this is just something I'm making up, but say it would be the group, like a group name. So I'm just looking around. The Red Star, the group known as the Red Stars. So now we know it's the Red Stars. And you can do some research and figure out, okay, the Red Stars came from this other city. So then you decide that you go to this other city, and there you might find the history and get the answer of who the thief was. and then the thief's probably the one with the assassin dagger. So you might know who the first person was that killed somebody using that dagger. So it's a mix of the dice roll mechanic and the personal role-playing aspect. And I really enjoy it a lot, because if you watched other videos of mine, you will know that there is that hard choice, that hard decision, or that game development question that a lot of people have is, should I as the player figure something out, or should my character just do it? I as a player do not have to lift up a table and throw it in a game session. When I say my barbarian picks up the table and throws it, I don't have to do that physically. So a lot of people will say, if my character is smarter than me, if my character has a better charisma than me, then shouldn't my character be able to do that? Shouldn't I just be able to say, I talk my way out of this and roll some dice? And other game masters will say, no, you need to do that. That's what the role playing of it is. Play a character that doesn't have a great charisma or intelligence or what have you there. So there is, and I see both sides of it. I understand as a player, I like figuring out things. But there are times where I get just exasperated. I get just, I can't figure it out. Now I just want to roll. So I really like Earthdawn as they kind of mix the things. You do your research. You have to role play that you are taking the time out of every day, spending your hour looking at the thing, and then you make your roll and you find the question, and then you as a player have to role play, whether that's going out and finding and meeting other people, doing research. You have to make the decision on how you are going to do that research, and then once you do that research, if that doesn't give you the answer, then you have to figure out where it is. And maybe you find a person and now you want information from that person. Is that person just going to give it to you? Do you have to have role playing there? Do you do some back and forth negotiations and stuff? So that's the one thing that I'm really enjoying in Earthdawn, as well as I love the Downtime in Earthdawn, which is one of the very few systems that I ever have liked in any way, shape, or form. The aspect of training to get up to another level or circle. It's called circle in Earthdawn, but level. I hated that in old D&D original. I don't know original, but at least when I would play the gold box games, you would have to go back to town and train, and I hated that aspect. Couldn't understand it. It was one of the reasons that I liked Palladium, because they just let you level. You didn't have to go back to train. In Torg, I like the new Torg Eternities aspect of between acts. You basically do a couple of rolls and get some items, and then you move on, so you don't take a lot of time in Downtime. When I was game mastering original Torg, I had a piece of paper that I handed out a copy to everybody. These are the things that you could do in Downtime. So we'd stop and say, figure out what you're going to do. If you need to make any rolls, we'll make rolls at the beginning of the game. You get to do one thing from this list, and that's it, because I just did not like Downtime. It worked really well in those games. But in Earthdawn, I love the aspect of let's sit down for a month or two and do stuff. And, this character over here, he might spend some weeks learning or improving a skill, because skills take a lot of more time than talents do. Somebody else raises some talents, and then they're bored because this guy's taking 4 weeks off of skills. What am I going to do? Maybe I'll use my profession to work. Like as a windling, I started helping out at the local forge. Didn't really do it necessarily for monetary. I could have, but I was wanting to get in good with a mentor that could help me to the next circle, as well as kind of like, okay, during the day, I'm using your forge for your stuff, for your orders that you have, and then on the weekends or after hours for a few hours, let me use it to make my hammer. Let me use it to make a shield. Let me use it to finish some armor that I had started, and things like that. And just let me do this. Let me help you. It's a way that I can say how I improve my strength. It was from, forging and things like that. So I really like the aspect of taking the role play, taking the mechanics of the game, and the way that they really intertwine nicely, in my opinion. So other people, you might not like Earthdawn, but if you've never played it, I would highly recommend getting a book and looking at it. It has a structure like D&D, and the D&D, either the clones or the offshoots like Pathfinder, where there is a circle progression, like a level progression, but within each circle you can use your legend points to buy skills and talents, and you don't have to necessarily go up a circle to go up in those other ranks. As an example, my Windling has a forge weapon talent. I started off with it at a 3. I wanted to have it at a really good level that I could use. So I needed it at least a 2 to get to Circle 2. But it was at a 3, so I didn't need it for Circle 2. Don't need it in the future for Circle Level 3. I have it. I could keep raising it, or at whatever point that I have other talents raised, can go for Circle 3. So your talents are independent of your circle, but your circle is dependent on the rank of your talents. So there's that kind of give and take. So there's that structure of circles, but there's the allowing, like a lot of games do with points, of getting individual skills and talents and such up. So I just really like that. It's kind of a nice blending of the two that I've always enjoyed. And as I said at the very beginning of this video, the optional talents are really nice in my opinion. I really like being able to tailor it so that not every weaponsmith is exactly the same. It's just, what are the talents I'm choosing versus what are the talents the other player's character is choosing. So I'll go ahead and stop that. Tomorrow will be Torg Tuesday, so I'll talk a little bit about Torg. And then after that, Wednesday, I will be on Roll Hit Die for Act 5 of Relics of Power in Torg. And then after that, I hopefully will do a Palladium and a Pathfinder video to get everything caught up. And then I believe after starting this weekend, things will go back to normal, and I'll start doing content as I did previously. So once again, I'm Lee McCracken Jr., aka Zorbalichan Less Than Guru, and until next time, I will catch you later.